Hello and welcome back to our channel. As you can tell, I'm on my own, so that only means one thing: thoughts from the wheelchair. I wasn't actually going to do one quite this soon, and it's certainly not going to be the hour and a half nearly that it was the last time. But I was blown away by comments I've had come in, and you've asked for more, and really thank you so much. It's nice to know that I'm useful, as it were. Now, one of the ladies that contacted me, she was saying about IBS. Now, I've suffered on and off with IBS for a number of years, but something I wasn't going to disclose was I've had a lot of failed pregnancies, and with them I'm on the sort of one where afterwards it stopped the IBS, more or less. If my anxiety levels raise, however, I still get the same problem with needing the toilet. So my heart goes out to you, honestly, it really does, because you're right, you have to be so aware of where the toilets are, and that's something I didn't mention before, but it's something it isn't just the exits I look for, it's the way to the toilets, and if they've got disabled toilets there. So you're not alone, love it, you really aren't. It's a horrendous thing, and it's not just a bad tummy. It feels like somebody's got an elastic band and they're slowly tightening it. I used to be absolutely dreadful with it. I wouldn't recommend pregnancy as an answer, because it can also exacerbate it, but believe me, there's not much to take positive wise from losing children, and that was one of the things I've come away with. And you grapple and crawl at things to try and think of the positive. I'm not going to go into any more of that unless somebody actually has gone through similar things or I've got questions, then fine, but only to the level that I'm comfortable with, because it was not a particularly great time for either me or my husband. But it might explain to the viewers why we're so obsessive with the hamsters. To be fair, I was before, but people try and rationalise how I can call them my children, and it isn't just that, but it is something that people do understand. It usually puts them on the back foot. So and so with the side of things with anxiety and IBS, when you need to go to the toilet, you cannot wait, you can't queue. The idea of having to, as the lady that wrote to me said, having to pay for the toilets, if it's anxiety based, which IBS can be triggered by anyway, to be perfectly honest, IBS can be triggered by absolutely anything, and the idea of having to pay for the toilets, as I'm told that you do in Belgium, I know there are places like London and things in the UK that you do, that would lead to dreadful pressure to me, because you'd be constantly aware that that person who probably takes money all day for the actual toilet and doesn't pay any attention whatsoever, but it would feel like somebody was sitting watching me, and that is not something. You need to try and stay as calm as you can, because it's amazing how much the body can produce anyway. Anybody that's either looked after children or had children know that. Comes to that, goes for hamsters as well, you'd be amazed. But aside from the toilet talk, I wanted to also wanted to talk about pain management, because I noticed when I watched back the video that I kept going off on different bits when I meant to speak about it, so I didn't go into it very much. Now, I have seen different counsellors. I've had ones on the phone, I've had ones in person at the doctor's surgery, and they've been very good. But with the ones you see at the doctor's surgery, you only have so many sessions. And because I kept losing babies at that time, I kept going backwards. It wasn't that caused it initially, but you have things that knock you back, something senseless. And the pain management woman that I saw, I only actually went for a couple of meetings because I couldn't do the group thing. And the woman herself I wasn't particularly comfortable with, which is unfortunate, but it seemed that she wanted to, I went for pain management for my pain, not for my anxiety. And it just seemed that she thought my life was an interesting juicy bit of gossip, because her body language, she sort of sat forward like I was telling her some real juicy, and it's my life, be interested by all means, but don't sit forward on the edge of your chair because you're getting such juicy information out of somebody. It's just really off-putting. And plus I tend to be more comfortable with men, talking to men, providing they're not in suits. Again, it's just a little. Now, pain management I had, it did help me understand my brain a little bit more and how it works. Now, meditation really helps. I was told to sit with my arms on my legs, count the breaths in. So you take like a big breath in through your nose only. Like say if you count in your head 3 breath, like 3 to get a big full chest full of air, or 2, or you double it on the way out, so you release it. Something I found really strange was she said just through the nose, whereas I know some practitioners are fine with you exhaling through your mouth. In fact, I prefer it, to be honest. But so if you take like 2, and then you should exhale it in 4. Now, when you start off with, you'll be counting in your head, because it triggers you, or it recounts your brain. It gives your brain something to focus on, because if you're in a great deal of pain from whatever region, or say if you're sick, I've suffered with sickness, which is really important. I don't, because I can't, my medication is key, but it's not the only thing that helps. And the meditation side, I know it sounds a bit hokey, but honestly it does work, it does help. If you go into it with the mind of, oh, it's a bit airy fairy, you're not going to get anywhere, because you're trying to convince yourself that you're going to be right. So go into it with an open mind. Let's say you in breath, out breath, and all the time counting. It calms you, so it helps with the anxiety side as well. It does calm you, but more importantly, and putting it in layman's terms, what it does is it resets your brain. When you are ill from, say, feeling sick, your brain initially goes to where it was when you were at your sickest, when you even remotely felt like that. So immediately it starts making you feel worse, because that's what your brain is expecting it to go like. If you use the meditation technique, it calms your mind, it calms you. And the same thing happens with pain. Your brain will automatically go to how painful it can be. So essentially, you're pressing the reset button. You may have to do it for a while. You may, only do it for a short term. However, the next thing the pain management lady suggested was I let my brain take me wherever, you know, think of somewhere that you feel safe. In my case, it was a library. I love libraries. I usually go back to the one in Hove that was my childhood library, and it was an old building. It was beautiful. It had different areas for different things. It was absolutely stunning, you know, beautiful architecture, beautiful building, and you could almost feel the wealth of knowledge you got from it. So that's where my safe place is, in my head, as it were. Problem is, when you've got somebody that's trying to deal with anxiety and pain management, you're not actually dealing with either particularly well. So if it's just an anxiety find, make sure you're in a quiet room, you feel safe, and then let your mind drift. Now, unfortunately, because she tried pushing for me to deal with my feelings on things, rather than being a calming technique, in the end it turned me into an absolute wreck, and it took me a long time to be able to close my eyes to meditate again, because all of a sudden the lights went out in the library and I had lots of empty baby car seats around me. And I won't go into the complete horrors of my mind, because your mind is an evil thing. But needless to say, it was really quite disturbing, and I wouldn't recommend it. Use it for pain or use it for anxiety. Concentrate on what you need it for at that time. It's like anything, you know, people only know from their own personal experience what works. If it works for you, that's grand. But the other thing that I was told was, if you're using breathing technique, because it's not just meditation, you've got the breathing technique on pat. So with, like me, each stair is crippling. I'm terrified of the stairs, and I mean, health wise, they do not do me any favours at all, and this is why I don't get out, for not only mentally but physically. Now, if I'm going up the stairs, it takes me hours, you know, and God, do you feel everyone. But what helps is the breathing technique I was taught. So again, you inhale. As you exhale, take that step, because as you're exhaling, your body isn't tightening into the pain side of it. It really helps. It really does help, and I've used this in lots of different things. If you do suffer with sickness a lot, with anxiety, or if you've got IBS, one of the best bits of advice I have ever had, and I use it every time now when I feel sick. It makes you look ridiculous, but then if you're feeling sick, let's face it, you don't look great anyway. Grimace. It was actually an episode of CSI, and Sarah Seidel had just taken the spit bucket from the boxing ring, and she was grimacing as she walked across, and she was asked, I think by Warren Davis at the time, obviously I know these are not real people, they're characters, but it was helpful. And he said, what are you doing? And she said, grimacing suppresses the gag reflex. And it does, it really helps. So you constantly on, which is another reason why I find it easier to exhale through your mouth. When you're grimacing, you can't really not exhale through your mouth, but it's enough to get your mind back in the track again. So it helps, it really helps. Now, one other little piece of advice that I can think of, I'm not going to ramble on like I have done, because I'm trying to get better at shorter videos, so all of it gets seen opposed to part of it. Key thing I've noticed with the wheelchairs, when we first got the wheelchair, it was great because it was my legs, it was everything. It really still is everything to me. But like anything, it's not very handy when your legs break. Now, I say that because what kept happening was the tyres kept popping. We kept getting stuff in it, just going around on the pavements and whatnot. It was puncturing the inner tube. So we went through lots of inner tubes. And the other thing with that is, you give a certain size, they don't always have the size you need. So they send you one that's bigger, don't tell you, put it in, and then you ended up with it popping because it's sort of in a Z shape at one point. So you get this great big bulbous bit in the wheel. Now here's the thing. As soon as if you need a wheelchair, whether you're a big girl, small girl, big boy, small boy, whatever size you are, the best advice I can give you is get hard wheels. Get them as soon as you can afford to do so, because it's not helpful when in effect your leg keeps breaking. Because in my case, I made it down the stairs, I'm in agony, but I'm euphoric because I've actually got outside my door. Then you sit in the wheelchair and the blooming tyre's gone down. Really, really does spoil your day. Not to mention the fact that I can't go straight up the stairs afterwards. I mean, you know, I spend enough time worrying about it as it is. So, you know, it's essential that you get the right tools for the job. And to be perfectly honest, I mean, when we were getting the inner tubes, we were getting them from Halfords, because a lot of the proper disability places were extortionately expensive. And when we got the hard wheels, we actually got them through a affordable disabled store on eBay. It's all right going to these big company places, but they charge an excessive rate. And not only that, even for a basic wheel change or inner tube change, they want your wheelchair so they can take it away, and you may not get it back for a couple of weeks. Well, that's all right. I mean, as it goes, it wouldn't have been a huge issue with me, because as I said, you know, about 4 times a year I get out. But what if you can get out and that is they're your legs? You can't afford for them to be away for even say 4 or 5 days. You know, that's your legs, that's your way of getting out. So yeah, big advice there. Use the hard tube. The other side of it was get the cushion, get the memory foam cushion, big square thing, chunky, about that chunky. I'm sitting on it at the moment actually, because something that, if you're sitting on your bottom a lot, and I can't sit up straight a lot, I'm pretty much supported by pillows most of the time, so this is why you get these few and far apart, and your coccyx hurt. They can get quite bruised and sore, but by having this pillow, I can use it on the computer chair, I can use it on any sitting surface at all, and it's probably the best purchase alongside with the hard wheels, because as I said, without them the wheelchair was letting me down, and that's not what you want. But yeah, so if any of this is helpful, or if any of you want any questions answered, if I'm comfortable answering them, I will. If you want to just say thumbs up, thanks, this is helpful, it's given me an absolute buzz, all of the replies I've had, because to me that means I'm helping, and that's primarily what this was all for. You know, it wasn't comfortable, and I was determined not to stop my husband putting it on, but my God, it was a battle. So thank you so very much, because you've made my day. And yeah, as I say, if I can help, I will, honestly. So give me a line, what have you. If it's something that's a bit more private, I may not answer it, but I will always tell you, and I'll always be straight, namely because I haven't got the capacity to lie, for the simple reason is with it, it takes too much, and my memory is terrible as it is, so it puts too much stress. I'm the nightmare that if I went into a shop with you and you asked me if your bum looked big in it, I would tell you, which is probably one of the reasons why my friends liked me going with them, actually. But generally speaking, as a big bum girl, I'm quite happy with mine. So, you know, just say stay safe, everybody, and until next time. And if I can help, I will. I've got plenty of health conditions I've not discussed. So if there's things like asthma, early menopause problems, things like that, yeah, just give me a shout and I will help where I can, even if it's just to stop you feeling alone. Okay, peeps, see you later. Bye.